So as Mark just pointed out, the terror of Qasem Soleimani and his Quds force was an everyday reality to our troops on the ground in Iraq. It is believed that as many as 1/3 of our casualties were a result of Iranian bombs and weaponry thrust into the Iraq conflict in order to kill and injure as many U.S. military members as possible. That's why the suggestion that the U.S. would do anything to aid them is gut-wrenching. My next guest is an Iraq war veteran who in 2005 was severely injured outside Baghdad by an EFP, which is a signature Iranian explosive. And now retired Staff Sergeant Robert Bartlett is an advisor to a group called United Against Nuclear Iran. He's joined tonight by Y.J. Fisher, a former State Department diplomat under President Obama who helped implement the Iran nuclear agreement. Welcome to both of you. It's great to have both of you with us tonight. You know, we're sort of going back in history, looking at what was going on then and what enabled this group to continue to grow and continue to carry out their terrorism and attack our own military on the ground. Sergeant Bartlett, when you listen to this back and forth, what do you think? What goes through your mind?
A total betrayal of everybody who served for this country and the country itself and its people. I hear Soleimani, that's all he wants to do is kill Americans, kill Israelis. So for us to give any kind of enablement to that country and that regime, that current regime, is just treason. I got no other word. I hate to use it, but I can't see it any other way. It's treason. If I did anything relatively close to that, I would be held for treason, and I'd be in Leavenworth.
YJ, you worked on the Iranian nuclear agreement. When you listen to this discussion, does any of it ring true for you?
No, not at all. You know, Tommy Vietor is a very smart guy, but he's also a very funny guy. And I thought his tweet was pretty funny. I mean, how do you respond to something this outrageous? Of course, the Obama administration did not aid Iranian officials and pass Israeli intelligence. You know, I think Mark put it well. The only known instance of a U.S. government official ever burning Israeli intelligence was when Donald Trump passed Israeli intelligence about a covert anti-ISIS operation to the Russians. I mean, this claim
let me ask you
that
this.
We are talking.
I understand what you're saying. Let me ask you this. In terms of any potential plot to take out Soleimani, which the Israeli papers are now reporting is the policy, that would be allowed, that the United States would not stand in the way of that if the Israeli forces were able to pull that off. Would you be in favor of that policy?
Absolutely. Qasem Soleimani is an absolute threat to the United States. And that is part of why, under the Obama administration, there was a real effort to impose intense sanctions on him and to do
billions of dollars, billions of dollars going to him? Come on. Billions of dollars, and you're saying, yeah, you increase the sanctions? Or what, are you kidding me? The Iran nuclear deal? You got to be kidding me.
I would say if you look at the recent protests, one of the things they show is that the Obama administration actually negotiated a much better nuclear agreement than its critics argue, right? I mean, if you look at the Iranian regime, it is weak and brittled, not empowered as its critics said it would be. If you look at the Iranian regime in the region, it is overextended, not flush with cash.
It has also supported the Assad regime, supported their attack on their own people in many cases, and also reportedly continues to support the regime in North Korea. So they do have billions of dollars. They're not funneling it to their own people in the form of economic growth. And one of the things that their people are so upset about is that they're funneling it into these other terrorist operations in other countries.
That's exactly right. But one of the things critics alleged about the nuclear deal was that it was going to give them more money to do these things. There is no doubt that the Iranian government is mucking around in the region, doing terrible things, a threat to the United States. They are bad actors. But the nuclear agreement never gave them the kind of wealth that people were worried about. They were never flush with cash to extend their operations in the region. One of the things that we've seen is they are overextended, and their population is angry about that.
Sergeant Bartlett, do you agree?
No, I totally disagree. I think the Iran nuclear deal was a setup so they could push the billions over in the middle of the night in cash, and then there's no trace of where that cash can go because you can't trace it and the different currencies it was in. And so they could actually use it and buy the nuclear weapon directly from North Korea, supercharge their nuclear program, so both countries who hate the U.S. would have the weapon, and then in 30 days, Iran will have a nuclear bomb. And they'd be a trained force to use it. It takes 30 days. And that's a nuclear physicist who gave me that information. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous to say it didn't pave the way.
YJ, in terms of the Cassandra Project, the Department of Justice has just begun a project to look into that, to figure out what happened there, and to continue to do what we can to end the activities of the drug running and drug business that fuels so much terrorism in the Middle East. Was there ever any effort from what you saw to say in any way, shape, or form during the perpetuation of the Iran nuclear deal, you know, we need to have separation between these two things? We know that they're guilty of massive terrorist activities across the Middle East, but we want separation in terms of hammering out this deal.
Absolutely not. I mean, again, I go back to the point that if you look at the recent protests, I understand the point being made, but if you look at the recent protests, what is clear is that the Iranian government is not flush with cash. They don't have lots of money. The nuclear agreement was not, you know, if we take a step back, the real allegation here is that the Obama administration was coddling the Iran regime. And there's just no evidence that's true. And in fact, the protests show that the nuclear agreement was a hard-nosed agreement. I never sat in a single meeting in the White House Situation Room with Secretary Kerry, with anyone, where anyone ever tried to mention the nuclear agreement and those negotiations as being a reason why we weren't going to be just as tough on the Iran regime.
All right, YJ and Sergeant Bartlett, I'm going to give you the final word, Sergeant Bartlett, because you lost a lot thanks to an Iranian EED.
It's not just me who lost a lot. My buddy right next to me was killed instantly, and I've got to do this for him. He's not here. He's not with his daughters anymore. And so if I'm not standing up and giving him a voice, then who is, right? So you can't say that Obama administration was friends with Israel and do what they did with the Iran nuclear deal and then say, hey, you know what, we're not really cozying up to Iran, but we're going to give them billions of dollars in the middle of the night because we think, oh, they're going to win some court case. It's a load. It's a total load, and the people of the United States know it. And you got the reality is people got caught. And that's what's happened. It just happened a little earlier this time.
We're going to stay on it.
I'm just glad that the truth came out.
We're going to stay on it. And there are a number of forces that are working these stories, and we'll continue to see where they go. YJ, thank you very much. Sergeant Bartlett, always a pleasure to see you both.
Appreciate you.
You bet.